now I will read from the Transcendental Diary. How much do we read? How much do we read? How many pages? Anybody? 1 page. Yeah, 2 pages. Yeah, I could read 2 pages. Yeah. Prabhupada is also closely supervising revisions of his books and has approved of correcting printing and editorial mistakes in earlier editions. Radha Ballabha mentioned that on Harikesha's advice, the BBT has postponed reprinting of the first canto of the Bhagavatam because Prabhupada was apparently not pleased with the standard of correction. Prabhupada confirmed this. I will have to see personally what are the mistakes in the synonyms and also how you intend to correct them. I was not satisfied with the corrections that were made before. I saw some changes which I did not approve. Nitai may correct whatever mistakes are there, but the corrected material must be sent to me for final approval. So reprinting the volumes will have to wait until the mistakes are corrected and approved by me. In another package, Jadurani Dasi, chief BBT artist, sent some sketches of proposed paintings for an upcoming Bhagavatam production. Srila Prabhupada regularly receives sketches from the artists before allowing them to paint any scenes. But during the recent Chaitanya Charitamrita production, Marathon, he permitted them to paint without prior approval for the sake of expediency. Now that all the 17 volumes are out, the pressure is off, and he confirmed his desire to revert to the previous arrangement. Being with Prabhupada is like being at Action General. It is exciting and educational to observe how he attentively oversees every aspect of ISKCON's development and preaching, especially anything connected with book distribution and distribution. Later in the day, Prabhupada visited the Ranganath temple here in Naloy. This impressive building was founded in 1070 AD on the bank of the river Pinar, sometimes called the Pinarkini, by the Sri Vaishnavas, the followers of the Ramanujacharya. It is home to a very large deity of Ranganatha, Lord Garbhodakshai Vishnu. We entered the temple compound through a massive 110-year-old gopuram. The edifice, similar to a temple dome, it is about 95 feet high and covered with dioramas of hundreds of Vishnu avatars. After passing through its high-arched gateway, we walked across a small courtyard surrounded by private residences, entering the original walled compound of the temple proper. Prabhupada was warmly received by a small crowd of local dignitaries and priests. It was wonderful to see them honor him with pomp and ceremony. After being draped with a newly woven cloth, he was led around the temple precincts, preceded by a Shenai band. The band included a Nadaswaram, which is a 6-foot-long Shenai. Its exotic wail traditionally announces the presence of an auspicious guest. There was also a tawil, a double-headed drum played at one end with a stick and slapped by the player's metal-ringed fingers at the other, producing staccato rhythms. High above Prabhupada's head, the white silken canopy of an 8-foot wide ceremonial umbrella offered shade, while simultaneously marking the position to inquisitive bystanders of the most important person present. Proceeding down the left side of the inner courtyard, Prabhupada was taken first to the small shrine of Ranga Nayaki Devi, the 4-handed seated deity form of Lakshmi Devi. He was led into a multi-mirrored room used for various festivals. Built in the 1930s, a gazebo structure stood in the center, its 4 columns covered in mirrors. The gazebo's ceiling had a painting of baby Krishna sucking his toe. Beneath it, there was a sitting place for the deity. On the gazebo's four corners hung large glass bowls for use as candle holders. The walls in the entire room were mirrored to a height of 8 feet, the rest of the walls being decorated with various colorful paintings of Vishnu and Krishna Leela. The main ceiling was covered with paintings of the Dasha avatars. Okay, stop here. Maharaj, would you like to make a comment on what I read?
Well, I was very eager to see the proposed corrections to the book.
Yeah.
Not important at all. At least this was possible when Paul was still there.
Yes. Now his very exalted disciples are taking care of it, though. But still, it's not the same. Yes. Thank you. So, I'll begin with the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from the 6th canto, chapter 1, text 34 to 37. So this is a long verse, 3 verses. Sarve Padma Palakshakshaha Pita Kosheya Vasaha. What do we have? Pita Kosheya Vasaha Kiritina Kundalino Lasat Pushkara Malina Sarve Cha Nutna Vayasa Sarve Charu Chaturbhuja Dhanur Nishangasi Gada Shankha Chakram Bhuja Shriya Disho Viti Mira Loka Kurvantaha Svena Tejasa Kim Artham Dharma Palasya Kinkarano Nishedhata. Sarve Padma Palakasha Pita Koshe Sheshavasasa Kiritina Kundalino Sat Pushkara Malina Sarve, all of you. Padma Palasa Shah, with eyes like the petals of a lotus flower. Pita, yellow. Koshea, silk. Vasasa, wearing garments. Kiritina, with helmets. Kundalina, with earrings. Lasat, glittering. Pushkara Malina, with a garland of lotus flowers. Sarve, all of you. Cha, also. Nutna Vyasa, very youthful. Sarve, all of you. Charu, very beautiful. Chaturbhuja, with 4 arms. Dhanu, how? Bow. Nishanga, quiver of arrows. Asi, sword. Gada, club. Shankha, conch shell. Chakra, disc. Ambuja, lotus flowers. Shriya, decorated with. Disha, all directions. Vitimira, without darkness. Aloka, extraordinary illumination. Kurvanta, exhibiting. Swena, by your own. Tejasa, effulgence. Kim Artham, what is the purpose? Dharma Palasya, of Yamaraj, the maintainer of religious principles. Kinkaran, servants. Na, us. Nishedhata, you are forbidding. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The order carriers of Yamaraj said, your eyes are just like the petals of lotus flowers, dressed in yellow silken garments, decorated with garlands of lotuses, and wearing very attractive helmets on your heads and earrings on your ears. You all appear fresh and youthful. Your 4 long arms are decorated with bows and quivers of arrows, and with swords, clubs, conch shells, discs, and lotus flowers. Your effulgence has dissipated the darkness of this place with extraordinary illumination. Now, sirs, why are you obstructing us? Before even being introduced to a foreigner, one becomes acquainted with him through his dress, bodily features, and behavior, and can thus understand his position. Therefore, when the Yamadutas saw the Vishnudutas for the first time, they were surprised. They said, by your bodily features, you appear to be very exalted gentlemen, and you have such celestial power that you have dissipated the darkness of this material world with your effulgence. Why then should you endeavor to stop us from executing our duty? It will be explained that the Yamadutas, the order carriers of Yamaraj, mistakenly considered Ajamal sinful. They did not know that although he was sinful throughout his entire life, he was purified by constantly chanting the holy name of Narayan. In other words, unless one is a Vaishnava, one cannot understand the activities of a Vaishnava. The dress and bodily features of the residents of Vaikuntha Loka are properly described in these verses. The residents of Vaikuntha are decorated with garlands and yellow silken garments, have 4 arms holding various weapons. Thus they conspicuously resemble Lord Vishnu. They have the same bodily features as Narayan because they have attained the liberation of Sarupya, but they nevertheless act as servants. All the residents of Vaikuntha Loka know perfectly well that their master is Narayan or Krishna, and that they are all his servants. They are all self-realized souls who are Nij Mukta, everlastingly liberated. Although they could conceivably declare themselves Narayan or Vishnu, they never do so. They always remain Krishna conscious and serve the Lord faithfully. Such is the atmosphere of Vaikuntha Loka. Similarly, one who learns the faithful service of Lord Krishna through the Krishna consciousness movement will always remain in Vaikuntha Loka and have nothing to do with the material world. Om Gyan Timrandasya Gyananjana Shilakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschati Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavibhyo namaha. Thank you. I feel very unqualified to be here with the presence of Maharaj here. Actually, it's this great compassion that he's tolerating somebody like me and encouraging us to speak by his presence. Thank you, Maharaj, for coming, and thank you, very exalted Vaishnava here, Sanatan Prabhu. Thank you also for your presence and all of your devotees, and hopefully you will bestow your blessings so I can speak a few words here. A little bit of what's going on here, like Sanatan Prabhu already explained yesterday, but the chapter begins with Parikshit Maharaj being very concerned for conditioned souls, because in the 5th canto he's just heard about the hellish planets, and he's thinking what's going to happen now to these souls who may have to go through this due to their sinful tendencies. And so he asks the question that is there any process of atonement for these people? And Shukadeva Goswami gradually describes the different processes leading up to the ultimate solution. And first he describes about how the karma khanda and the jnana khanda process, where just by by doing certain auspicious activities like charity, penance, practicing celibacy and things, one can actually negate these sinful reactions. It is a fact that actually one can negate these sinful reactions, but it's not completely gone, because the such desires for sinful activities don't really go away. Parikshit Maharaj is very doubtful. He's saying this is just like the bathing of the elephant. We bathe the elephant and he goes back into the dirt and the mud. So what is the use of such atonement? And of course there's the process of speculative knowledge also, which also can, through the process of jnana, one can actually understand the nature of this material world and stay away from sinful things. But again, it doesn't destroy the sinful desires within the heart. And then, because Parikshit Maharaj is dissatisfied with this process, then knowing the mind of Parikshit Maharaj, Shukadeva Goswami then describes the wonderful process of devotional service. How devotional service, Bhakti Yoga, is a way to completely destroy all sinful tendencies within the heart. And in this connection, he gives the story of Ajama, just to explain this point, how powerful the chanting of the holy name is. And, even if it's done with offenses, how it can eventually lead to Shuddhanam, like, the mist, the fog, it finally clears up with the pure chanting. So if Namabhas is so like Parikshit like Ajama, we will see, he was not completely offenseless, but yet he was not very offensive, So because he was not chanting with the intention of remembering Krishna. So anyway, so in that sense, if that was so powerful to save him and give him another chance, the second birth, so we can imagine what Shuddhanam is going to do, right? So, this is a very old Puranic story, the Ajamil story, which he described, where Ajamil is trained as a very, very good Brahmana by his Brahman parents, following all the rules and regulations and rituals properly, but yet, he fell down, just by walking through the forest one day. He saw a prostitute embracing a man, and he fell down, and he brought that prostitute home and kept her for many, many years. He actually had 10 children from her. And he was doing all kinds of sinful activities. I think when he was like 88 years old, and his time had come, he was on his bed, and and then out of desperation, he was calling out for his son Narayan, because he was very, very small. Imagine 88-year-old man. He had a really small child. So and so he was very, very attached to him. He, whatever he did it for his son, and couldn't stay without him. And so when he was lying on his deathbed and he saw the gross figures of grotesque figures of these Yamadutas, then he called out in great anxiety the name of his son Narayan. But because the name of Narayan is so pure, and because he was chanting without offenses, immediately Vishnu Dutas came there, and they confronted the Yamadutas and asked him to stop taking that, because he was dragging the soul, the subtle body of Ajamal, to the hellish planets, to Yamaraj. And they said, stop. And then what ensues is a beautiful conversation between the Yamadutas and Vishnudutas, where the Yamadutas, because they belonged to, their leader was such an exalted soul, like we read yesterday in that verse, they were beyond the modes of material nature. He's not exactly a demigod. He's above a demigod. He's as good as a super soul. So in that sense, he was able to, the Yamadutas were representing a very pure leader, but yet they did not completely understand the power of the holy name. And so here in this verse, they are describing these beautiful Vishnudutas who have appeared there. And they are saying that you are looking so like celestial and so exalted. How can you do this? How can you stop if you know what is justice? And if you study the Vedas, which they had a very good idea, how can you do this? And then they describe the dress and the bodily features of the residents of Vaikuntha Loka. So here we see that this whole chapter is dedicated to the power of the holy name. And we see how Srila Prabhupada, even during his lifetime, when he first began the movement in America, then he was approaching people who were attracted to him were just the hippies. And it was impossible for them to follow the four regulative principles, to give up meat eating and all that. And so Prabhupada, he did not stress so much the regulations as much as he encouraged them to chant the holy name of the Lord. and the following of the japa and kirtan and congregational chanting. And just by that, by hearing the holy name, their hearts became purified. And then when their hearts became purified, then they were able to follow these four regulative principles. So, so we see that how among all the things that Prabhupada stressed, the most important thing that he stressed was the chanting of the holy name, because it's the yuga dharma for this age, and so when we go on Harinam and we go do congregational chanting, it's so powerful. Why? That's precisely why Prabhupada wanted us to do this Harinam, is because even in the most sinful people, it can get stirrings of bhakti. It can shake them up. It can give them it can attract them to the point that they may actually be attracted. So it's so very powerful. It's so very powerful. So here he's describing the features of these residents of Vaikuntha Lokas, that they have several types of liberation one can have, and one of them is the Sarupya Mukti, where you get the same bodily features of the Lord, pretty much the same. They look same exactly, right? So there's the story of Gopakumar, right, in Bhagavatam, where he goes to Vaikuntha, and I don't totally remember that story. Maybe Prabhu, you maybe know, Maharaj, but he goes there, and the first person he meets is this four-round, beautiful Vishnu looking personality, and he's thinking is Narayan, and he immediately starts bowing down and worshipping him, and that Vaikuntha resident who was looking had the same features. He said, no, I'm not Narayan. You go, and then he directs him somewhere else, and then he goes, and then he again stays there. He's thinking that person is Narayan. So everybody is looking like Narayan, and then finally he realizes that actually he finally meets Lord Narayan. Of course, his heart is not satisfied because he's a resident of Braja, and the story is very nice, where he goes to different planets and finally finds his way to Vrindavan, where he meets his own Govinda. So all these great residents, they look like Narayan, but their mood is so dasya, like they consider themselves servants, and they are not considering of themselves as anywhere close to being equal, or so in this way. So what is the difference? I mean, also in the third canto, 15th chapter, there's a very nice description, right, of Vaikuntha. When Diti becomes pregnant with Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, so there's all types of bad omens in the sky because such terrible demons are in her womb, and the demigods get really afraid, and they go to Brahma and says, what's going on? And then Brahma tells them the story of these four Kumaras who were trying to enter Vaikuntha because they had this great desire to see Lord Narayan, and they were stopped by these two gatekeepers, Jay and Vijay, and due to that they cursed them. And of course they move on in, and there's a description of this beautiful Vaikuntha where people are, there's beautiful airplanes, which are made of jewels and everything, and where the residents are so immersed in the Lord and the glories of the Lord that they are not interested in blooming lotuses and blooming flowers and beautiful trees. They are not interested in those things. Even a breeze of these beautiful flowers seems a disturbance to them. They don't want to deal with it. They think this is a disturbance to their glorification of the Lord. And they recognize the superiority of the Tulsi tree and the Tulsi leaves because she graces the lotus feet of the Lord. And even when the bees drone and is glorifying, everything is personal there and alive. So even the trees and the flowers, they're all personal and alive. They're just like desire trees. and so when the bees are giving the glorification of the Lord, they are all the other entities, they stay very quiet so as not to disturb him in his glorification. Such a beautiful description of a place that is free from any anxiety at all. And so there's several places in Bhagavatam where we can hear about Vaikuntha, and if you go to Banipedia and you see there's so much, like Prabhu was saying yesterday, right? There's so many places. So anyway, so I just thought it's interesting to note how where to maybe think a little bit about where a devotee should go. I mean, Vaikuntha is beautiful, and so should the devotee aim for going to Vaikuntha, or one should go to Goloka? That is, because when you read descriptions, it looks pretty nice place, right? So where should actually one should lead to? Prabhupada explains that because we are following Lord Chaitanya, our goal is automatically goes towards Braja. That is the thing. Because Lord Chaitanya is none other than Krishna himself. He's a combined form of Radha and Krishna, and in the mood of Radharani. So what is the difference between Vaikuntha and Vrindavan? The Acharyas explain, and Prabhupada also explains in several places. In Vaikuntha, there's two ragas, and that's Dasya. And here we see in Vaikuntha the mood of Dasya, of being a servant, with worshipping the Lord in awe and reverence. And the other rasa is half Sakya. I was hearing a class by Bhakti Maharaj, and he was explaining this so nicely. So that is half Sakya, which means that friendship, but in awe, in reverence. One friendship is in awe and reverence, and the other could be in quality. So in Vaikuntha, there's friendship. There could be friendship, but and this, I was thinking there's nice examples like Arjuna, right? He was a friend of Krishna, but he was he knew that Krishna who he was. Maybe, I don't know, it feels like Arjuna would be happy in that. Maybe Uddhava would be also in Sakya. He was a friend of Krishna, but he was very much in the Vaikuntha mood. So in this way we see, but in Vrindavan we have the four rasas, right? I mean the three rasas, which is Sakya, the cowherd boys in equality, where they are jumping on the shoulders of Krishna and doing all kinds of naughty things, and they forget that Krishna is God. That's the wonderful thing that Bhakti Maharaj was explaining, how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Vaikuntha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in Vrindavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's a cowherd boy. In other words, the residents forget the fact that he's God. Even though they know that, but they forget. And a nice example is how a mother, if her child becomes a prime minister or something, well, she's not so concerned with the fact that he's a prime minister, because she sees him as a lovable boy. She knows that he's prime minister, but her love, her pure love, eclipses the greatness of her son, like that. So in this way, it's nice. So this is the mood of. Then there's parental. One cannot have a parental relationship with Lord Narayan, because then one would be superior to the Lord. So that's not possible. Right? Just like Mother Yashoda, she felt she was superior to Lord Krishna and she wanted to punish him. So that's not possible in Vaikuntha. Right? And the other, of course, is Madhurya, Conjugal, which is not possible in Vaikuntha. So these three are prominently in Vaikuntha, in Vrindavan. And how do we achieve that is through, so the access to Vaikuntha is through Vedic Bhakti, following strictly the rules and regulations. The access to Braj is through Raga Nuga Bhakti. Raga is love, mellow, and Nuga is to follow in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan. But we don't practice Raga Nuga Bhakti. We strictly follow Vedic Bhakti, like Prabhu was saying. It causes disturbance in the mind because we are not on that platform. So how do we enter? The question arises, how do we enter Vrindavan? If you're not, we have to practice Vedic Bhaktis, our sadhana strictly, how do we enter? And that's where Prabhupada explains is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Because Lord Chaitanya is both Radha and Krishna, especially in the mood of Radharani, and because Radharani is one of the chief gopis, so we are following the residents of Vrindavan. So that's why the process of devotion service as prescribed by Lord Chaitanya, by the Sankirtan Yagya, is so powerful. And what is Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan Yagya? Is chanting of the holy name. So which means just by chanting the holy name, one can achieve the highest reward, highest bhakti, the prema bhakti that takes us to Vrindavan, that takes us to Braja. So we can see that how Prabhupada has given us everything, everything, just by giving us a chance to follow the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and read Srimad Bhagavatam. He's given us everything. And how special, how fortunate we are to be in this movement and to be able to access the highest prema bhakti just by being followers and participants in this missionary work of Lord Chaitanya. It's amazing, isn't it? Because this yuga, Krishna and then Lord Chaitanya in Kali Yuga, Krishna comes in Dwapara Yuga, this Krishna in the original form of Krishna, the two-handed form of Krishna in Braja, he doesn't come in every Dwapara Yuga. He comes only in one day of Brahma, which is a long, long time. Because his one day is 1,000 times the 4 yugas, one Divya Yuga, which means the 4 cycle times 1,000. It's a long period. Right? And within this one day of Brahma, there's 14 manus. And each manu lives through 72 yuga cycles. So that means that, and then in this, so we are in the 28th cycle and of Vaivasvata Manu. I'm sorry, we are in the 7th Manu. We are with the 7th Manu, the Vaivasvata Manu, in the 28th cycle. And this is the day, this is the yuga where Lord Chaitanya comes in. So imagine like being in this yuga where Lord Krishna himself comes at the end of Dwapara Yuga as is a very, very rare thing. It's so rare to be in this yuga. And following Krishna's advent comes Lord Chaitanya, right after that. So Lord Chaitanya's advent comes only after Krishna comes. So his coming is also very rare. So I was thinking the other day, how rare, what an opportunity we have. And that's why Prabhupada wanted us to take this up seriously and try to finish it off in one lifetime, and not wait for this great opportunity that we have today. Right? It's a very, very rare opportunity that we have. So, anybody has any questions? Yes.
You were talking about Vaikuntha, and sometimes in Braj there's a lot of individuality amongst the devotees. But is it in Vaikuntha possible also to be individual? Because everyone is in the service mood and there's not so much personal exchange.
So I missed that first part of your question. So if they're all like that, what kind of opportunity do they get? What did you say?
They are all individual.
They can be individual in Vaikuntha.
They have an individual relationship to Krishna, very
Mm.
much special, and in Vaikuntha, I think this is somehow not manifested.
If anybody, Maharaj, would you like to say something?
We are always individual.
Okay.
Also in there we are individual. In my Vaikuntha it's just more formal, you know? It's like there's a distance, you know, kind of respect.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm just more intimate, not more intimate. Anyway, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, no, this is very nice explanation. In Vrindavan, there's more intimacy, obviously, right? Because the relationship is not so formal.
In Vrindavan, they're not interested to understand that Krishna is God. As Bhagavatam said, they're not interested, they just want to love Krishna, that's all.
Yes. Yeah, their love is also overpowering that knowledge.
There was
Yeah, I think to Vaikuntha you can even go with your partner, like husband and wife are performing the sadhana very well, and that airplane is coming, you can even go together, and there again you'll be, they're also coupled there, husband and wife in Vaikuntha, it's very different, and everyone looks the same as the Lord. But if you want to go to Krishna's place, then you have to, it can be only individual, you can go with, you have to fully surrender. The amount of surrender is just so much more. Basically, you can't even expect, if you do a ritual, I think even if you follow every Ekadasi strictly throughout your whole life, you can go to Vaikuntha. And there's not any chance that you not go. You will have to go. But if you want to go to Krishna's place, it is like when you get Indian citizenship. You know, at some point you have to renounce your nationality, but you don't know if India will take you as a citizen. So you're in between. So if you, I mean, it's a very different process altogether.
That's a very nice point, because in the that 15th chapter, they talk about, men and their consorts, traveling together in the airplane. But there is no, sexual attraction. I mean, they are both of them. So there is variety. That isn't it? There's variety. Yes.
I have a question. Thank you so much. I think it is not disturbing for the topic on the whole. Why Lakshmi couldn't come to Vrindavan?
Yeah, nice topic. Yeah. And
She
this
was
is
messaging the feed.
yes.
She was doing service.
Yeah.
And she wanted very much, and then she was allowed only to be like a golden lion on the.
This is a nice question. This is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 9. This conversation between Venkat Bhatt and Lord Chaitanya, and we were just reading in Prabhupada's the Transcendental Diary, Prabhupada's visit to Sri Rangam, and that's where this conversation took place. Very nice conversation. When Lord Chaitanya entered Sri Rangam, he immediately went into an ecstatic trance and started chanting, dancing and singing the Hare Krishna mantra, and everybody was so shocked, and so was Venkat Bhatt, who was the chief priest of Sri Rangam, and but people were so ecstatic, feeling so ecstatic, and everybody was actually changing and chanting, and that was the time when South India was had become very impersonalistic, and anyway, but Venkat Bhatt brought the Lord to his home for lunch, and he begged him to stay for the 4 months during Chaturmas, and because he had such pure love for his Lord Sri Rangam, for Vaikuntanath, that Lord Chaitanya was attracted, and you can see that there was no, this conversation that took place, Lord Chaitanya didn't do it with any feeling of superiority, like he totally recognized Venkat Bhatt's pure feelings for his Lord. But in the process, for days and days while they were discussing these pastimes of Krishna, at a certain point, Lord Chaitanya asked him that, I've heard that your Lakshmi, she left the service of Lord Narayan for many, many years to do tapasya in order to enter the Ras Leela of Krishna, And Lakshmi's position is such that she never ever leaves the lotus feet of her Lord, never leaves it. And she's also present in the chest of Lord Narayan as a golden lion. So Lord Chaitanya asked that question, that how is it that your Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, the consort of Lord Vaikuntha, how is it that she left to do such a tapasya? And then Venkat Bhatt said that, well, she's a very chaste, Lakshmi is very, very chaste. And there's no difference between Krishna and Lord Narayan. So if there's no difference between Lord Krishna and Narayan, that there is no harm if Lakshmi wants to enter the rasa dance. It doesn't show that she's less chaste. She's still a very chaste because it's the same husband. And so to that Lord Chaitanya said, but how is it that even after so many years of austerity, Lakshmi still could not enter the Rasa Leela? Okay, she did that. Krishna and the Lord Vaikuntha is the same, but how is it that she still could not enter the Rasa Leela? And then Venkat Bhatt says, my Lord, I do not have the answer. You tell. You are the knower of everything. Anyway, so then Lord Chaitanya explains that to enter the Vrindavan, one has to be in the footsteps of the Brajvasis. In other words, one has to give up this feeling of opulence. So Lakshmi ji is very attached to serving the Lord. Her mood is service, but to serving the Lord in opulence. And if you see the descriptions of Vaikuntha in the 3rd canto, 15th chapter, the queens, all these consorts, they are serving, the queens are serving in that mode of opulence, sweeping the marble floors, welcoming the Lord with all opulence and paraphernalia. So they are in this mood of opulence and they are attached to it. But there is no place for such opulence in Vrindavan, where the opulence is just simply Krishna's sweetness. So, like Maharaj said nicely, that one has to be one has to be totally in this mood of loving Krishna without any, mood of, forgetting that Krishna is God in a relationship which is without any encumbrances. Like the gopis, they left everything. They left their husbands and what society would say, so that kind of thing. But Lakshmi is attached to her opulence. I don't know if that's maybe.
Mataji, what about her body? I read that she didn't want to give up her spiritual body.
Who?
Lakshmi.
Her opulence.
Her opulence.
The body of opulence, you mean?
She would have to take the form of a simple cowherd boy, but she did not want to do that.
Or even a gopi.
That's why she couldn't enter. Then she sat and did her pasta. She's still sitting in Lakshmi Van.
Yeah, there's a beautiful place there where Lakshmi did. Yes. Anyway, so this is the story of.
I have a question about this point. You mentioned that it's very rare that Lord Chaitanya manifests. So, in other Kali Yugas, who is giving the mercy of the holy name? Lord Chaitanya is not there.
Well, there's other processes and they are more difficult. Prabhu, can you or Maharaj, can you answer that question? So,
when you go to there's a place called Tri-Yogi Narayan. So there is where Lord Vishnu performs the marriage of Lord Shiva. So normally the Lord is supposed to only appear in 3 of the yugas. He's called Tri-Yogi. And then in the Kali Yuga he comes as a hidden avatar. So same as much as we said that Krishna comes in person, so another form of the Lord is coming to give the process, but it is not the Lord himself directly as Radha and Krishna.
So, okay, Lord Chaitanya then is not coming in that form, then the people cannot go to Vrindavan, only to the
So
Vaikuntha.
when you're fully pure, then Krishna will infuse that knowledge into you. I'm not pure enough to have that knowledge. It is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The description is there. It is there. I'm not fully recalling. Only recalling that he's coming in 3 yugas. Now he's coming as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Mataji said. In other yuga, he also comes in the color yellow, and he's coming in hidden incarnation.
Yes. Yeah, because what was I thinking? I forgot my train of thought, right? Yeah.
There was one thing in the purport when the Yamadutas saw the Vishnudutas, they were impressed by them. And Prabhupada mentions there that this is actually Vedic culture. You know, that people are not just all the same, like nowadays everything is the same. Whereas when they appeared, that they were immediately identified some very special persons by their behavior, by the way they looked like. And I'm saying that because some time back I heard that Prabhupada also had certain symptoms of the way he acted, that in the West, this way of behavior is not known. Because we're so Kali Yuga. I mean, how you say in English? Like, you know, like, so much into Kali Yuga here. Bereft of all good qualities. You know? But for example, in India, when Srila Prabhupada appeared in public, many people immediately could recognize him as a great personality. You know? Because, I mean, they were more refined, they were more basic, but at least some remnants of Vedic culture. And also sometimes we see videos of Srila Prabhupada, there's one famous one, caught my attention at least. It's Prabhupada is just sitting there, and he doesn't say anything. No? It's a video in black and white, very, very simple. And you can just look at Prabhupada and look and look and look and look. It's so special. Prabhupada is so very special. Just by sitting there and not saying even a word.
Such a nice remark.
And I heard also that somebody commented that there was one person who was studying, or he knew a lot about this traditional dancing in India. I don't remember the name now. And
Garba?
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
And they're not just dancing, but there's a lot of mudras. Actually, they manifest things in certain, I don't know how you say in English.
Gestures.
Yeah. And that person was very expert in this kind of,
expressions.
Yeah, expressions like that. And when he saw Prabhupada, he could detect also the same thing as Prabhupada. The way Prabhupada moved his hands, and the Prabhupada looked and everything. It was very, very deep, you know, like very, very, very expressive. Expressive? Very expressive.
Yeah, very expressive.
Yeah, like in the Western countries, people don't give so much attention to these kind of things because they're not so aristocratic, not so cultured anymore, not so refined anymore. Anyway, does it make any sense what I said?
No, it does, Maharaj. Yes, yes. Yes. Prabhupada came from the spiritual world. So
And
it's like,
Yamadutas, they easily can recognize, even though they're Yamadutas, they can easily see they look very special personality.
just to be there in the planet of Yamaraj, the Yamadutas were still very elevated personalities, you know. Just to be in the planet of Yamaraj, with Yamaraj. So they could immediately recognize, like you're saying, Maharaj, that they could immediately see that these are the great personalities. Thank you so much. And I was also thinking the story of Lord Brahma Maharaj, that when Lord Brahma, the Brahma Vimohana Leela, you know, where he, you know, his Lord, he's a Vaikuntha man, but how when he sees Krishna in Vrindavan and he gets totally immersed in that pastoral beauty and sweetness, and he recognizes that Krishna is the source of his Narayan. So that is again, I thought that was a nice story in terms of. I also heard a class by Shivram Swami, and he was talking about that. Somebody asked him a question that if you go to Vaikuntha, can you go to Vrindavan from there? Can you, you know, go to Goloka from there? And he was mentioning how one would have to come back again here and then go back. Or maybe, yeah, so that to me, maybe it's Bhoma Vrindavan or something, you know, where you have to come to the Vrindavan here on this planet and be trained out. Yeah, not so much the mature world, right? Yeah, more the Bhoma Vrindavan, so you can be trained up again and then go back again to Golok. So that sounds very promising. Yes.
How can the bees glorify? Also they tell that the bees will glorify what they're doing.
The bees, how do they glorify? Her question is. Yes, everybody knows everybody's language there. Yes. Okay, I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.